Hey, everybody. Doug Fowler here from Alaska Talks. Thank you for the applause. I know it just spend money. It'd be easier for everybody involved. So, hey, I'm Doug Fowler. If you didn't hear me just before, with the news going on right now, the campaign is underway for what? Sheriff? Yes, that's right. Sheriff right now. Got a little echo. Can't be avoided right now. But let me turn the volume down. There we go. Got a little echo going on, but has some technology issues. But anyway, Sheriff campaign is underway. I think we have 4 registered candidates, and hopefully we can get a chance to interview a few going on our show here. So play with my little buttons here. Nick Pappas, who was scheduled to be interviewed with us this past weekend, had to back out. We had to back out for illness. Still got a lot of snotty nose, so if I sneeze or sniffle, please forgive. And but we'll be rescheduling his interview and campaign announcement very soon. We'll be right here in our studios, and then right after our little announcement here, we'll be interviewing the Sheffields. Sorry about that, folks. Right next, and we'll be talking about, for those that maybe have getting ready to PCS to Europe, wherever it may be. They're over there right now and live with us in the studio via our Stream Here channel. They're going to be on the next scene. We'll talk all kinds of things. Now, I wanted to bring up something real quick before we transition to Shetlands, and that would be one of the things I'd like to kick off, and I mentioned it in our little Facebook post, is about maybe a campaign debate, seeing as we have a contested debate or contested campaign for sheriff. And if you agree with me, post it on our Facebook page and say, just let me know if you agree with the debate. One of the reasons I created this podcast, streaming podcast, was for the simple fact I did not think we the voters, got enough input into the party politics as far as selecting who is going to run for the party, who is going to be the party candidate. And because we're mostly a red county, if you're the party candidate, you by default are the sheriff come election time, because there's nobody else to vote for. So how can we affect that? How can we pick my choice for sheriff out of the party candidates? Well, we can cast our votes just like everybody else, but I want to hear more than a 5-minute spiel at the party at the community center and read their Facebook pages about how great they are and yada, yada, yada. And that goes for everybody. So I'm pleased, very pleased we are, that Nick Pappas out of Crocker, former police chief out of Crocker, and I believe a lieutenant deputy in the sheriff's department next door. I can't remember which county he is, but he's agreed to come on our show, talk about his campaign, and et cetera, et cetera. But also we'll have the phones on, and you'll be able to ask questions. We'll be able to call in and ask questions with Nick and get it right out of the candidate's mouth. And that's what we hope to do with all the candidates, if they're willing to come on down. It can be virtual. It can be in our little studio, i.e. basement, but we'll figure it out from there. So anyway, without further ado, let's transition and meet the Shetlands. Are you there? Can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you. Can you hear us?
Yep. Let me see if I can turn you up a little bit. We had it working here in a little bit. Move your microphone a little closer there.
Oh, we got to move closer. How's that?
We'll just bunch in. How's that? Is that a little better if we talk a little louder?
It might be me. Give me a second, please. This happens all the time. between MacBook and PC. Where's my stupid volume button? But I think we can hear you. So go ahead and introduce yourselves and let everybody hear who you are and a little bit about you.
All right, so I'm Command Sergeant Major Christopher Shetland. Been in the military for about 26 years. And as you said in the intro, we PCSed recently about 2 years ago out here to beautiful Germany from Missouri. So pretty excited to talk about that. And this is...
Hi, I'm Ashley Shetland. I am obviously a spouse, and I am also a GS worker. So I do work for the Army here in Bavaria, where we're stationed.
Well, awesome. I appreciate it both coming to do our little podcast here. We're getting some viewers going online. So, Ashley, are you still serving or are you done?
Oh, no, I am actually also in the Air Reserves out of Aviano Air Force Base. So I do that once a year for about a month during the summertime. The hardships of going to Italy in the summertime I have to deal with.
Yeah, I've been down there at the... It's tough duty, but I guess somebody's got to be paid to do it. And how long have you served,
somebody got to
Chris?
suffer through it.
Chris, you've been in how many years?
26 years now.
Okay, and Ashley?
I've been in 23 years.
So with that, it's like I thought it would be a great idea to talk about was that you guys have from all the perspectives. You're a government GS worker transitioning from Fort Leonard Wood. You're both military, one reserve, one active duty. And then you're a GS worker. You transitioned over there, and I think it covers a lot of bases. I think it'd be excellent. So, children, I know you got one, but nobody else does.
So we have a 7-year-old. She goes to school on base to a DOE school system that we have here. She loves it. It should be snowing right now in Bavaria, but it's not. So she's a little upset about that. We have not had a white Christmas for some reason. But she's transitioned very well since all she has really known is the military. So she's moved about 6 times in her life, in her 7-year-old life.
My dad was his parents worked on the pipeline, and I think he said he had 15 high schools, 15 alone.
We're trying not to get to that point.
Sure.
And by the time she does get to, by the time Chris retires at 30, she should be about 10 or 11. So we'll skip the high school. We'll hopefully settle and keep her in school for a long amount of time at that point.
Now, here's a tough question. It's pretty easy, actually. But is this the first time you guys have served together overseas?
Yes.
This is the first time we've both been overseas.
Well, unless you count Hawaii.
Yeah, well, we don't.
That's vacation. That's not the...
Mm-hmm.
That's not due. So this is your first time overseas too, Chris?
No. I've been stationed in Korea. I've been all over the Middle East. Stationed in Hawaii a couple of times. And then now in Germany as well. So.
Well, Europe. Gotcha. This is the first time that we've been to Europe.
Yep, first time in Europe.
Yeah, just like the question said that I wrote and forgot that the first time together. So, talking about when you both come down in orders and what was your first response? Was it kind of like the fight or flight response? How do we get out of it? Or was it immediately, hey, this should be interesting, something we can do together?
No, yeah, the second part, it would be interesting and it's something we could do together. And, we've been very lucky because Ashley has a very distinct career field in the GS system. And not only that, but also lucky in that she was able to kind of get that reserve IMA position down in Italy along the same time. It wasn't like we planned it completely in conjunction with each other. Just everything seemed to fall into place. To a point that we were able to get everything synced up and everything worked out for both of us.
Well, that's great.
And I don't think so. We in every orders that we've ever gotten, it's never a flight or flight situation. It kind of is just like, let's just do what we got to do, and this is what is our next adventure. Because you just have to be positive about it no matter where you go.
Sure.
like truthfully, I wasn't excited about going to Fort Leonard Wood when we got orders to go to Fort Leonard Wood.
Hey, but I was
But then
there.
yeah, exactly. But then I fell in love with Fort Leonard Wood.
Sure.
I fell in love with Missouri, and that is the best place that I've been so far. As we've gone to so many locations, I've built a huge family in Fort Leonard Wood. A lot of people, a lot of support in Fort Leonard Wood that I didn't think that I was going to have. So in my mind, I was thinking something different, and I got something completely different when I went to Fort Leonard Wood, and to include here in Germany, right?
Sure.
We have a lot of friends. We've made a lot of friends, and we live in Bavaria, which is different than the rest of Germany. I would say um, it's a little old cultured. They're
Huska.
very yeah. So it's deep in their in German culture. So it's a huge transition from America to Bavaria, I would say specifically. If you're on like the Ramstein side, it's a more English speaking, American friendly area. Where in Bavaria, the weather is a little bit more gloomy. The folks are very nice, although they do not speak English, which granted, we're in Germany, so they don't have to speak English. We don't think they do, but German is a very hard language to learn. Let me just put that out there. Um, so it culturally it's been not a hard transition, but a different comparable transition than any other place that we've been.
Now, when we went over there in '92 to '96, and I gotta give my spouse all the credit in the world because I went over ahead, but she did all of it, the legwork. But I can't imagine how big of a benefit being able to reach out overseas with an email. This is before we had email. The gray hair is
Yeah.
very talking, and without pubs, everything you counted on was either from the PSC one, and that had to be nice. It's kind of moving to the next question. Sponsorship and the units that you were assigned to down, I believe your home fells, right?
Correct.
So what was that like? And I've heard good and bad on both sides, and rooms for improvement and challenges that it happens. But to have that work out for you on with your move overseas.
Yeah, so the sponsorship piece was pretty tight. You know, being a sergeant major, they reached out right away. But I'll tell you now, being here, we make sure that our sponsorship program is tight as well, so that we're communicating with the folks. Because I will tell you, it's difficult to try and connect by phone from the United States with somebody in Germany without really knowing how to dial the numbers and all that kind of stuff. And so we're including that language in our welcome letters now. So that was challenging. Trying to reach somebody on a telephone was challenging. Emails were easy enough. And then I'll tell you, probably the best resource that we had was something that Ashley found, which was kind of like the Hohenfeld spouses page.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as she got on there, she got connected with a bunch of other folks that actually live in the neighborhood that we live in now. And so they even came over before we got here. They brought the furniture over. They kind of set the house up so that when we arrived, I was able to just stay 1 or 2 nights over at the hotel, and I was able to walk right into the house.
Wow.
That's
impressive.
really,
Yeah,
really good.
and that's the benefit nowadays, right? That a lot of the bases that exist, or not even a lot, all if not all, have like spouses pages, or they have like intro pages to the base. So what I like to do once we get any kind of orders to or knowledge of a location that we intend to go, I start searching for the Facebook pages,
Sure.
right? And I start kind of integrating that into my Facebook, and then asking relevant questions, or searching within in the Facebook chats, questions that I've had before, or they posted before, which makes it a lot easier, because sometimes, as much as we love our spouses, they do not share a lot of information. Um,
What?
or nor do they may know the information. So I like to just get in there, and I'm all in. I'm trying to find what the housing number is, and how to contact housing, and I did all that. So and through Facebook, right? I
Right.
asked on Facebook, hey, how do I contact housing? What is the process? And they were super helpful. The thing here in Bavaria or in Hohenfels is that we do not stay on base. There's a certain rank. I think it's E6.
Well, yeah. So what it comes down to is most of the housing available at Hohenfels is government sponsored housing,
Right.
but it's off-base housing. So the government basically foots the bill for everything. It's contracted to the government, but the house is off the installation.
Yeah.
There are a number of, all the barrack spaces on the installation. There's a number of very small apartment type buildings that are on the installation, but the rest of it is really furnished for families to live off the installation.
Yeah, which can be a culture shock for some people, right? When you're going to another country and you just want the familiarity of being on base, and they tell you no, you get off of base.
Well, yeah.
You need to go off of base.
Yeah, we were fortunate. We were in Fürth, Erlangen, and Bamberg, and I can't imagine the culture shock. Even though I'm half Dutch and I didn't ever speak the language, but I could. But I wish we kind of were exposed to that. Being part of the community, because you're integrated as part of the community goes. But the convenience to be able to ride on a bike to work, which you could probably do from where you guys live.
We do, yeah. Chris rides a bike to work.
Yeah, see, I miss that terribly.
3.6 miles from my doorstep to my office.
Yeah, so he'll run to work or ride his bike to work. And we actually, traditionally as Americans, right, everybody has a car.
Sure.
In Germany, Europe, that's not a thing for them. They use a lot of public transportation, and they use a lot of bikes and walking. They like to walk everywhere. So we kind of adopted that concept, and we have one car for our household, and Chris will run or use his bike to work. And then if it's snowing, right, then he just sleeps at work because I'm not kidding him.
Wow. Yeah, the best time of my career is in Germany. I loved it. And if it weren't for Bosnia, I'd probably still be there. I think we'd still be there, but it wouldn't be up to me.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Amazing culture, amazing environment. And, she had mentioned that Bavaria is kind of different than the rest of Germany. And it's true to a point. They've stuck to a lot of the old country ways. So, your towns are very much in their original state.
Yes.
So there's not a lot of expansion or growth in the towns. The towns themselves look just like they probably did 100, 200, 300 years ago. With the exception of the three cities, which is Nuremberg, Regensburg, and then Munich. Munich obviously is just blown up. It's one of the biggest cities in Germany. And then Regensburg is still got some old school life to it, but it's also a college town.
Right.
And then Nuremberg is the same thing. They've really kept the tradition of the town of Nuremberg together with the walls, and then they built down. So they've expanded a lot of those buildings and everything underneath the ground, and expanded their capacity to do a lot of the things that they'll need to do. So
I just remember the best gyros I ever had. Excuse me, I got to move this camera so I don't look like an idiot. But the best gyros I ever had was down in Nuremberg. That was just amazing. And then in Regensburg and the old town is just, what a culture. I mean, I loved it. And every town has its own beer.
Yeah, they have their own thing, right? They have their own festival, their own Christmas markets. Everybody has their own thing.
Is the Volksmarch still a thing?
Crazy. Oh yeah, they have both marches. They actually do one for the school as well, and then we have our own festival, Hohenfels festival for like the summertime, kind of like a Oktoberfest but a smaller version.
Sure.
And like Germans just find a reason to party and drink beer.
They don't even need a reason.
Yeah, they don't.
When I was friends in Dutch, they say we don't work to live, or we don't live to work. We work to live.
Yeah, they work to live. Yeah, most definitely.
And they live it up. Yeah, that's awesome. So leaving Fort Leonard Wood area. I know you had a house, but talk about what you did with your house that you had here, your lodging, and how did you get through that obstacle, the furniture and all that stuff?
Yeah, so in Fort Leonard Wood, we owned the property we lived in. We bought the house when we moved to Fort Leonard Wood. And so we were only in Fort Leonard Wood this time for about 22 months, start to finish. So at that time, it really wouldn't have been very super profitable, but it was also COVID years. So this story may not be the same for the next person.
Oh, well,
But
definitely.
we decided to Ashley actually decided she wanted to convert the house into a B&B, which really worked well for about a year, and then it started to taper off, so it wasn't supporting itself anymore. And then we finally sold, but by that time the housing market had boomed, and so we made a profit even though we only owned the house for a couple two
years,
and a half 3 years.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the
we really
housing
lucked
market's
out,
still
but we
crazy.
loved our house.
Huh?
oh yeah.
I said we really lucked out, but we loved our house. Our house was perfect. It was in a perfect location. It was a perfect size. I'm pretty sad that I had to sell it, but it is what it is.
Especially if we end up coming back to Fort
Yeah.
Leonard Wood.
Oh,
But
sure.
the one piece of property we did have trouble getting situated was our vehicles. And so if you're going to ship your vehicles internationally, you've got to have the title, or you have to have paperwork that you've coordinated with the title company to give to you. And I thought that would be a very easy sort of fax it over kind of piece of paper,
Absolutely.
but apparently it's not. It's got to be certified. And every time I would call them to get the paperwork, it was just a challenge. So, and we had a very short notice to get myself over here. Ashley actually came over about 60 days later. And so we ended up just selling both of those cars in order to reduce that hassle.
Yeah, and it may be different with whatever loan company that you have the loan with. Probably USAA is an easier group of people to transition because they do it often. But we did not have a loan through USAA. We actually had the loan through the car dealer, right, that we had it with. So it was a little bit harder to get it from them for sure. And we're a little upset about that as well.
Oh, I can
Because I
imagine
love
that.
my car.
That's
But
that was my biggest impact when we got deployment orders back in '92, going to Germany. And I was listening to all the hubbub. We didn't have internet, all the gossip. They said it's going to cost you a fortune to get insurance. You can't get insurance. You have to buy it overseas, yada, yada, yada. And you have to pay off your vehicle because the bank won't let you take it overseas, yada, yada, yada.
yeah,
And of course,
exactly,
of course, none of those things were true. But at the time, we had Geico. Geico was pretty young, and it wasn't as earth shattering as what I thought it was. But you hear all the gossip and you get spun up. And I just remembered the lesson I learned was get the facts before you spaz out.
Yeah, most definitely. And everything's different, right? Like USAA or Geico might be a lot easier to deal with. Insurance is insurance, so no matter what.
But here's the other difference too. And so we've kept USAA, so I'll put that out there. But if we ever actually had an accident, I would be a little concerned with their ability to be able to respond to our needs, because USAA doesn't necessarily have an office nearby to be able to send like an insurance adjuster out or do any of the legwork that would need to be done in that event. So I would recommend doing some research and getting a good German insurer for your vehicle while you're over here. But it's too late for us. And we've been lucky so far.
Yeah, and they do have that ADS something. They have a supplemental kind of like roadside assistance.
Oh yeah, ADAC.
ADAC, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
That other friends of ours have used and have found useful.
Yeah, and that's a good example. Like, even though I pay for roadside assistance with USAA,
yeah, we're not getting it.
They're not sending me a tow truck.
Yeah.
So
I could see that, because I remember it was bad news if you didn't have insurance. You got caught without insurance, and if you had a vehicle that was of poor quality and it broke down, I mean, there's fines being paid. The Germans didn't play, and the Dutch were even worse. They, you're not going to bring your 1949 Ford F-150 rust bucket over. It just ain't going to happen.
Yeah, and the thing, there's a process. I'm not sure what it was back then, but there is a process now where you have to go through the base to get licensed. And certified to drive your vehicle on the German population.
Oh yeah, we had to do that. We got our driver's license on post, and Keely did better than I did.
Yeah,
and got hers faster, and I never forget that, nor am I allowed to forget that.
Well, even with your car, it has to be certified through
Yeah.
the base.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. We had a pretty new van, so
Yeah.
that's right. You get
But I
pretty
mean,
close inspection, and if you had to be
Yeah.
careful about what you bought from the lemon lot, because guys leaving usually the clunkers behind.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then so let's just say motorcycle riders, right? There is a volume level that your motorcycle can be legally in Germany, and if it's above that decibel, you're not authorized to drive it in Germany.
Well, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Germans really do have their processes and concepts, and they do have like quiet hours, right? Anytime, I think it's like 9 or 10 o'clock, depending weekday or weekend.
Yeah.
It's quiet hours, right? So you're not supposed to be making a lot of noises.
Sure.
It's just so it's nice
And it's
for old people like us, right?
yeah, it's nice and calm and
Yeah.
and, you know, but the status of forces agreement is what covers our ability to drive long term in Germany without having to go take like a German driver's test or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
which is extreme.
But so you can actually drive in Germany up to 90 days without getting a foreign license or without getting the U.S. Army Europe license. And that's any visitor that comes to Germany can drive for up to 90 days. Once you exceed 90 days, you have to either have the German license or you have to have the U.S. the U.S. Army Europe driver's license.
Because I
And
remember
that's
one
pretty.
time we had the international driver's license, but I don't know if they even have that anymore.
They do.
They do, but it's the same rules in the international countries, right? So if you're
Sure.
going to be in that international country for upwards of 90 days, then you're going to need to get a license with them. But most of those countries have that same rule that you can operate with your organic license for up to a period of a certain amount of days. So
I got you.
a lot of people do get the international license, but quite honestly, I don't know if it's unless you're going to be spending a prolonged amount of time in another one of these countries. I don't know if it's worth the effort. Now, getting the U.S. Army Europe driver's license itself is really easy. You just
Right.
have to take, it's like a 3-hour online test that you have to take, and then you have to take the pre-test.
Yeah. And then
But it's about 3 hours of clicking through a button, and then you have that certificate, and then you go into the licensing office. You give them your driver's license, you give them that, and they give you the other license. So the procedure is pretty easy, and you can do all of that before you even get on the plane to come over.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
really?
you have 30 days though. Yeah. I think you have 30 days until that certificate expires.
The biggest city in Germany,
The biggest city in Germany?
Ausfurt. All exits lead to Ausfurt.
Oh, yeah,
Osprey.
Ausfurt. Yeah, or Eingang.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah.
So, what about departing Fort Leonard Wood, and your losing unit? I can imagine, in my case, but I still have ties to my responsibilities, and sometimes those responsibilities are hard to let go. How supportive were your units and your job here at Fort Leonard Wood on letting you go and take care of the stuff that you need to do, and how hard was that overall? It sounds like it was a pretty smooth process with a few hiccups, but go into that a little bit.
I think from my side of it was pretty easy because once they found out that I was on assignment to Germany, my replacement showed up. As soon as my replacement showed up, I gave him the guidon and and then I left. So it was that easy for me. But for Ashley,
For me, it was very, very. Whoopsie, sorry. our ghetto setup here. It was actually very, very easy. I had an amazing boss that gave me a lot of time. To
it's tilted.
Okay, to manage my time between PCSing and everything like that, because we had short notice that we were going to be getting here, and so he had given me a lot of time off. Well, not off, but just a lot of time to kind of go through and do the out processing, because I had gotten a job here in Hohenfeld. I was blessed enough to get a job here in Hohenfeld,
Sure.
so I had to out process as well. But that's because I had a good boss and I had a good office, right?
Sure.
I can't say that's going to be the same for other people or other, GS workers or NAF workers. It really just depends on your organization and how much they're willing to support you, and your next movement.
Sure.
you know.
I will say this though. Obviously, the more time that you have to prepare to leave, the better. But the Army has a tendency to like hold off on giving you your orders for a period of time. But I would encourage folks that know that they're coming here and their spouse is also employed or is seeking employment on the other side of it, because the system doesn't just give you a job. So like Ashley had to go search for that job, and so she ended up getting this job without any preferential treatment, without having my orders because my orders weren't ready. And so she ended up getting this job just on her merit, which is exceptional. But it's obviously better if you're job searching that you have that extra.
Oh, I think we lost you. Did your phone go dead?
No,
No,
no, my dad was calling. Go ahead. You're saying.
So yeah, trying to push your orders as soon as you find out that you're on assignment
And
can be
don't wait to get
challenging.
stuff done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I would say that was probably the most challenging piece that we faced leaving out of Fort Leonard Wood was, I basically got my orders and I left 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So she had no preferential treatment coming in. She just had to get interviewed and obviously got the job because she's amazing. But
So preferential treatment, right? So I didn't have any spousal preference,
mhm.
or anything like that. Where for those people that haven't applied or that are new spouses that are in the GS system, if your spouse gets to another location, and they have their orders, you can upload that, and that could be a check in the block of being able to apply for the other job, right? Or
Gotcha.
the job on the other side. And then also there is a difference between getting hired in the States and then getting hired here in country. The benefits are completely different. I would always recommend, if possible, to get hired in the States and get on your own set of, because I have my own set of orders. And then I have my own benefits and
Right.
moving, like a car and household goods. Never turn that down, right? Always take that, even if you're on your spouse's orders. That way, if let's just say you guys went antiquing and have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of stuff to bring back, you can always put that on your orders. Or you bought a new car and you can put that on your orders, and the government will pay for it to get back to the States. So, like I said, if you get hired in the States, the benefits are different than if you get hired in country. Where if I did, so I have a few friends that did get hired in country and they do not have any of the benefits that I have. So they don't have the PCS benefits, they don't have the vehicle benefits, and they even get paid different
Oh, really?
in certain benefits that we have.
Oh, yeah, that
every
makes
time she
sense. That makes
touches
sense.
every time she touches the table, the phone tips over. Only other cautionary note there is number one, it's not a guarantee that you get those benefits, and so that's within the contractual language that you have when you sign the contract.
Yeah, most definitely.
And then the other thing is, if you're trying to get a job, like if you have a teenager or your spouse is into like the services industry or is trying to be a teacher, or work for like the school age children's center or the CDC or something like that, you can start that process early. And a lot of times, like especially with if you got a teenage kid that you want to get a job at Burger King, or you want to get them a job at the bowling alley here, it takes 90 days to 6 months
Wow.
for all of those checks to go through. And so you would think it's not so hard as that, but it is. And so as soon as you get put on orders and you want to try and start to lean forward with that, you can see about trying to get those applications put in advance of arriving here. Otherwise, you're going to show up and it'll be 3 months to 6 months before they can work.
Good grief. It's like it was getting that way when we were over there. The background checks and 6 months to a year sometimes,
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah. But
to work at Burger King.
Yeah.
to me, I think some of it's archaic, right? It's like we have a rule that got put into place and then nobody ever checked on it. That's how I look at it. It's like, why am I still rationing coffee in Germany?
He's very upset about this coffee thing.
Right? Like, why do I have to carry a ration card to go buy coffee at the commissary when I can get all the coffee I need on the German economy?
And
And
good
they have really
coffee.
good coffee.
Yeah,
Yes.
but my point being, that was a rule that we initiated post World War II, and we've never, I don't think, for whatever reason, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably speaking out of my own foxhole, but to me, it seems like there's probably no need to ration coffee anymore.
He's
I
upset
would
about
have
it
to
because he
agree
gets
with you.
Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see cigarettes and stuff like that, and I'm not going to admit to anything on camera, but yeah, I remember they did the cigarettes.
Understood.
I just say I had a grandmother in Holland, and she smoked 2 packs a day.
Taking notes.
Well, that's about all the questions I have. You got any closing remarks you'd like to tell everybody? And before we close up, you say you still got Volksmarches. Ashley needs to go to Czech and get me a crystal chess set. She don't know that until now. But
I know. We go to Czech. It's like 2 hours away. We've been to Prague like 3 times. So the traveling is amazing here. It's not as easy as you think it is, because there's vignettes and there's just different laws going into different countries. But it's a lot easier than obviously flying from the United States to these countries. We've gone to a lot of places. Just some recommendation. It's very, even for us that are, I would say that we're very worldly. We've traveled around the world. It still was a bit uncomfortable to be here, but like you just have to get out, right? They drive on the same side of the road that we do. That's half the battle. The speed limit there is a speed limit, right? The Autobahn does exist, but there is a max and there is a minimum at points, right? And it's kind of like a go stop situation. It's just not like 100 miles an hour the whole way. So be aware of that, because especially on the Kaiserslautern, Frankfurt area, they have a lot of cameras. Yeah, that's how they catch you.
Let's just say I got a speeding ticket on my very first day in the country.
Yeah, so. And I just recently got a speeding ticket as well. And then the grocery stores, the food in Germany is so fresh, and as I would say, it's way better than shopping in the commissary. We do support the commissary. There's always that American favorites that we have.
Sure.
We shop on in the commissary, but we do our best to shop on the German population just because the food is great and it's so easy. But there is some cultural things that you need to remember, like when you're in the grocery store, there's no talk, like there's not a lot of conversation. There's just get your groceries, and they're like throwing it at you, and you're putting it in your cart. Don't put it in your bags, right? Go to your car and put it in your bags. They're gonna look at you. Yeah, they're gonna look at you and be angry about it. But that's just how it is. And then everything's closed on Sundays. Everything. Grocery stores.
The term for it. Matter of fact, I can remember going. What was the in processing? You had 2 weeks to in processing. I don't know if they still have it now. But that was one of the things they had a word for that when everything was.
I don't even know. Yeah, I know that I was like, it was a culture shock because like Sundays in Fort Leonard Wood, I would be at Walmart at 5:00 in the morning doing my grocery shopping. And then I get here and I'm like, nothing's open. So you're supposed to relax. That's like their day of rest. They take that very serious here, especially in Bavaria. You're not supposed to be cutting your grass. You're not supposed to be like doing anything like physically outside, culturally, other than walking.
Yeah, you can walk. Yeah, and the walking trails, the running trails, they're amazing.
Great,
you can easily get around on a bicycle
to every town,
to just about anywhere you need to without putting yourself at risk.
Well, I missed that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely gorgeous, and like this side of Germany is different than the west side of Germany, and for many different reasons. The weather is different. It's much more akin to like Washington State. So if you've ever been to Washington State, it's very much like that. And then on the western side, it's akin to the East Coast. So, you get those kind of weather fluctuations here. And we're in the shadow of the Alps, right?
Sure.
Yeah, anywhere here is beautiful, and there's a castle on every hilltop in
Yeah.
Bavaria.
Yeah.
Another was it the Brits? My folks had British friends. They said another bloody castle, another bloody chateau. Those are
Yeah.
vacations.
And so yeah, I mean, it's if you get the opportunity to serve in Germany, it's absolutely 100% wonderful. And I would be remiss if I didn't pitch the OCT environment. So not only that, but for me, it was my first time coming to an OCT or CTC. So we work at JMRC, which is the Joint Multinational Readiness Center. If you ever have the opportunity as a military member to come and serve, and you have completed your KD time, I fully encourage it. This has been probably one of the most rewarding and greatest assignments I think that we've had.
Really?
There's just a lot of time to not only work hard, but you're able to spend a lot of time with your family. You're able to get out and see, all these wonderful different places. And for the most part, you can count on your summer and Christmas breaks for the most part.
Yeah.
There's always, the enemy always gets a vote, but
Sure.
it's been wonderful for us.
Yeah, and most definitely, especially for safety here. It's been a very different experience that I've ever experienced in my life, since it being a training area. A lot of rollovers, a lot of things that that can kill you here during rotations, and it's been exciting for me to actually be a part of it. Being that my background is garrison and then Air Force, which is a different hazard, but the military heavy vehicles and mission set for the Army is very different. So I've enjoyed it completely. And then I got my own Humvee, which it took me a while to figure out how to turn it on. I would call Chris and he would be mad at me about it. So I stopped calling him and just YouTubed it. But trying to turn on a Humvee for the first time was interesting. I was looking for the keys for a while, and eventually I got
There's a video of that.
Next time I'll make sure I'm present to take the videos myself.
What I remember most, one of my favorite things, one is the trails. You could run, you could ride, and you could go anywhere. And two, if you had a weekend with no plans, where you want to go? Let's go to Switzerland. So within 2 to 3, 4 hours, we were in Bamberg. So we could go to Czech in 2 hours. We could go to Austria or wherever, and you're in a new country, and it was just amazing. I just loved it.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, I think we're about 2.5 hours from Austria. We're an hour and a half from Czech, if that. It might even just be an hour.
Poland, we're about 5 hours from Poland.
Yeah, so it's same. It's absolutely wonderful to just be able to kind of drive in any direction and go to a different country. So
and on good roads.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most definitely. They really
I-44.
use their money wisely here with their roads.
Yeah, as to the taxes go to. But anyway,
yeah, exactly.
We appreciate you guys logging in with us and give us a little update and taking your time out of your day. I know, what time is it there?
8:45.
Yeah. 8:45, 20:45.
Okay, awesome. So we have 7 hours. So you guys be safe, and we'll be talking to you next time. Ashley, just let me know how much I owe you for the crystal.
Let me know what that is, and then I'll go
get it. It's a crystal chess set they make in Czech Republic. They're famous for the crystal at Karlovy Vary. I've always wanted a crystal chess set, and I got a buddy that works over there. I can't remember where he's at right now. He works for the school system. But I always
you should have told me a long time ago. We just went to Karlovy Vary last year for Thanksgiving.
That's all right. We're going this weekend to check.
No, we're not going this weekend.
I don't care. What's that got to do with
I'll go look for this crystal chess set. I have an antique guy too. Yeah.
We'll see you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys have a good day.
You too.